Hi friends, welcome to Televera. Today, we uncover the extraordinary life of Princess Diana, the woman who captured the hearts of millions while quietly carrying a loneliness few could ever imagine. Before she became the people's princess, she was a shy young woman with simple dreams, never knowing that one day the entire world would watch her every move. How did an ordinary girl become the most beloved royal in history? What pain was hidden behind her unforgettable smile? And why did the woman who inspired millions never truly find peace herself? This is not just the story of a princess. It is the unforgettable journey of love, heartbreak, courage, compassion, and a woman whose legacy continues to touch the world. Let's begin. Princess Diana was one of the most admired women in history. Millions saw her wearing beautiful dresses, waving to cheering crowds, and living inside magnificent royal palaces. To the world, she seemed to have everything a person could ever dream of: fame, wealth, beauty, and the title of a princess. But behind that unforgettable smile was a woman carrying pain that almost no one could truly understand. Before she became the people's princess, she was simply Diana Spencer, a quiet young girl searching for love, acceptance, and happiness. Little did she know that one day her life would become one of the most emotional stories the world had ever witnessed. Diana Frances Spencer was born on July 1, 1961, in Sandringham, Norfolk, England. She belonged to the Spencer family, one of Britain's oldest aristocratic families. Although her family had wealth and social status, her childhood was far from perfect. As a little girl, Diana loved animals, music, dancing, and spending time outdoors. She had a gentle heart and always cared deeply for the people around her. Friends often described her as shy, kind, and sensitive. She was the type of child who would rather comfort someone who was crying than seek attention for herself. When Diana was only 6 years old, her parents' marriage began falling apart. Arguments inside the family became more frequent, and the warm home she once knew slowly disappeared. Eventually, her parents divorced. For Diana, this moment changed everything. She later admitted that watching her family break apart left a wound that never fully healed. She often felt confused, lonely, and emotionally abandoned. While other children enjoyed peaceful family dinners, Diana struggled to understand why the people she loved could no longer stay together. After the divorce, custody battles created even more emotional pain. Diana and her siblings found themselves caught between two parents who were living separate lives. Although both loved their children, the separation created a loneliness that Diana carried into adulthood. Many years later, people close to her believed that this difficult childhood explained why she always searched for genuine love and emotional security. Diana attended several boarding schools while growing up. Academically, she was not considered an outstanding student, but she possessed qualities that could never be measured by examination scores. She was compassionate, caring, and naturally gifted at making people feel comfortable. Teachers noticed that she was happiest when helping others rather than competing against them. She loved music, ballet, swimming, and taking care of younger children. Even as a teenager, Diana dreamed of becoming a dance teacher because she enjoyed bringing happiness into other people's lives. Life inside boarding school also strengthened her independence. Being away from home forced Diana to grow emotionally at a young age. Although she often missed her family, she learned how to hide her sadness behind a polite smile. Few people realized that the cheerful young girl quietly struggled with feelings of insecurity and loneliness. After finishing school, Diana moved to London to begin an independent life. Unlike many aristocratic young women, she chose ordinary jobs. She cleaned apartments, worked as a nanny, and later became a kindergarten assistant. She genuinely loved spending time with children because they made her feel peaceful and accepted. Parents admired her patience, kindness, and warm personality. She never imagined that these simple days would soon disappear forever. Around this time, destiny quietly began changing her future. The British royal family was searching for a suitable bride for Prince Charles, the heir to the throne. Charles had met Diana years earlier while dating her. At only 19 years old, Diana suddenly found herself surrounded by photographers everywhere she went. Reporters waited outside her apartment, followed her car through the streets, and published stories about every detail of her personal life. The quiet kindergarten assistant who had once enjoyed simple walks through London was now becoming one of the most photographed women in Britain. She had never experienced such attention before. At first, she tried to ignore it, believing life would eventually return to normal. She had no idea that normal life was already gone forever. As Prince Charles and Diana spent more time together, newspapers became obsessed with their relationship. Every public appearance created massive headlines. Millions of people dreamed of seeing another royal fairy tale become reality. Across Britain, excitement continued growing as rumors of an engagement spread. Diana remained polite, graceful, and humble despite the overwhelming attention. Deep inside, however, she often questioned whether she truly belonged in such an extraordinary world. Then came the moment that changed her life forever. Prince Charles asked Diana to marry him. The engagement was announced to the entire world, and within hours, newspapers across the globe celebrated the future Princess of Wales. Crowds gathered outside Buckingham Palace. Television stations interrupted regular programming, and millions believed they were witnessing the beginning of one of history's greatest love stories. But behind Diana's gentle smile stood a young woman who was stepping into a life she barely understood, a life filled with enormous expectations, endless public attention, and challenges far greater than anyone could have imagined. As the wedding preparations began, the entire world watched with excitement. Newspapers called Diana the future queen. Television channels followed her every move, and millions of people admired the shy young woman who seemed to have stepped straight out of a fairy tale. On July 29, 1981, nearly 750 million people around the world watched Prince Charles and Lady Diana Spencer marry at St. Paul's Cathedral in London. It became one of the most famous weddings in history. Diana walked down the long aisle wearing an unforgettable wedding dress with a 25-foot train. To the world, it looked like the perfect beginning to a perfect life. But behind the cameras, Diana was already feeling something was wrong. The pressure of becoming a royal was far greater than she had imagined. Every word she spoke, every dress she wore, every expression on her face was judged by newspapers and photographers. Privacy disappeared overnight. Even simple activities like shopping, visiting friends, or going for a walk became impossible without hundreds of cameras surrounding her. The royal family followed traditions that Diana had never experienced before. Every event had strict rules, every public appearance required perfection, and every mistake became tomorrow's headline. Diana often felt trapped inside a world where she was expected to smile no matter how she truly felt. Although millions admired her glamorous lifestyle, very few understood the loneliness hidden behind palace walls. Her marriage also became increasingly difficult. Diana had entered the relationship believing she had found true love, but she soon realized that Prince Charles still had a close emotional connection with Camilla Parker Bowles. This discovery deeply hurt Diana. She felt rejected, insecure, and emotionally isolated. Instead of finding comfort inside the palace, she often found herself crying alone in rooms that looked beautiful on the outside but felt painfully empty inside. The constant pressure affected Diana's mental health. She later spoke openly about suffering from depression and bulimia, something she hid from almost everyone during those early years. She felt that no one truly understood what she was going through. While the public believed she was living a dream, Diana privately struggled with emotional pain almost every day. Despite her personal struggles, Diana discovered something that gave her life purpose. She began visiting hospitals, orphanages, and charities. Unlike many public figures who simply attended official events, Diana genuinely connected with people. She sat beside sick children, comforted lonely patients, hugged those who were suffering, and listened to their stories with compassion. Her kindness was real, and people immediately felt it. One of the most unforgettable moments came when Diana publicly shook hands with an AIDS patient without wearing gloves. At that time, many people wrongly believed HIV could spread through simple touch. Diana's simple act of kindness changed millions of opinions around the world. She showed that compassion was stronger than fear. The photograph quickly became one of the most powerful images of her life. Everywhere Diana traveled, enormous crowds gathered just to see her. Unlike other members of the royal family who maintained formal distance, Diana walked directly toward people. She hugged children, accepted flowers, smiled warmly, and made everyone feel important. Because of this extraordinary connection with ordinary people, the media gave her a name that would remain forever: the People's Princess. As her popularity continued growing, something unexpected happened. Diana became even more admired than the royal family itself. Newspapers focused on her kindness, beauty, and compassion. Crowds waited for hours simply to catch a glimpse of her. Around the world, she had become more than a princess. She had become a global symbol of hope and humanity. However, inside Buckingham Palace, the distance between Diana and Prince Charles continued growing. Public appearances looked perfect, but behind closed doors, their relationship was slowly falling apart. Rumors of unhappiness began appearing in newspapers. Reporters searched constantly for signs of trouble, while photographers followed Diana almost every hour of the day. She felt as though there was no place left where she could simply be herself. The fairy tale that had inspired millions was beginning to crack. Diana had won the hearts of the entire world, yet she was quietly losing the happiness she had always dreamed of. Soon, the truth behind the royal marriage would become impossible to hide, and one of the most shocking chapters in modern royal history was about to begin. The pressures surrounding Princess Diana only continued to grow. By the early 1990s, newspapers were filled with stories about the troubled royal marriage. Rumors that had once been whispered behind palace walls were now making headlines across the world. Every television interview, every public appearance, and every photograph became a subject of endless discussion. Diana knew she could no longer pretend that everything was fine. The fairy tale the world had admired was slowly falling apart. In 1992, Prime Minister John Major officially announced that Prince Charles and Princess Diana had separated. For millions of people, it was heartbreaking news. Many had believed they were witnessing the greatest royal love story of the century, only to discover that behind the smiles were years of sadness and emotional pain. Although the marriage had ended, Diana refused to let personal heartbreak define her future. Instead of hiding from the world, she dedicated herself even more deeply to humanitarian work. She visited hospitals treating children with cancer, spent time with homeless families, supported charities helping victims of domestic violence, and traveled across the world to bring attention to people who had been forgotten. She believed that every person deserved dignity, no matter who they were or where they came from. One of her most unforgettable humanitarian missions took place in Angola in 1997. At that time, thousands of dangerous landmines remained buried beneath villages and roads, killing innocent civilians long after wars had ended. Diana walked through an active minefield wearing protective equipment while television cameras followed every step. The images shocked the world. She was not there for publicity. She wanted governments to understand the suffering these hidden explosives continue to cause. Her courage helped bring global attention to the issue and inspired international action against landmines. Wherever Diana traveled, people responded with genuine affection. Children rushed into her arms without fear. Elderly people smiled through tears after meeting her. Patients who had lost hope felt comforted simply because she sat beside them and listened. Unlike many celebrities or royals, Diana had an extraordinary ability to make every person feel important. She treated kings and ordinary citizens with exactly the same kindness. In 1995, Diana made another decision that changed history. She agreed to a televised BBC interview with journalist Martin Bashir. During the interview, she spoke openly about the struggles inside her marriage, the loneliness she had experienced, and the emotional battles she had fought for years. One sentence from that interview became unforgettable around the world. Speaking about her marriage, Diana quietly said, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." Those words instantly became one of the most famous quotes in modern history. The interview created enormous controversy. Some people praised Diana for finally telling the truth. Others believed private royal matters should never have been discussed publicly. Regardless of public opinion, one thing became clear. Diana was no longer willing to hide her pain simply to protect appearances. The following year, in 1996, Prince Charles and Princess Diana officially divorced. Although she lost the title of Her Royal Highness, she remained Princess Diana in the hearts of millions. Surprisingly, after the divorce, she appeared happier and more independent than she had in many years. Free from many royal responsibilities, she focused almost entirely on humanitarian work and raising her 2 sons, Prince William and Prince Harry. Then came the night that changed history forever. On August 31, 1997, Diana was visiting Paris. While leaving the Ritz Hotel with Dodi Fayed, photographers aggressively chased their car through the streets, hoping to capture exclusive photographs. Their driver attempted to escape the pursuing paparazzi by driving at high speed through the Pont de l'Alma tunnel. Seconds later, disaster struck. The car crashed violently into a concrete pillar. Emergency teams arrived within minutes, but Diana's injuries were devastating. She was rushed to hospital where doctors fought desperately to save her life. Despite every effort, Princess Diana passed away during the early hours of the morning. She was only 36 years old. The news spread across the world with unbelievable speed. Television programs stopped regular broadcasts. Radio stations interrupted music. Newspapers printed special editions. Millions of people simply could not believe that the woman they had admired for so many years was gone. Outside Kensington Palace, thousands of people gathered carrying flowers, candles, photographs, and handwritten letters. Within days, the number of flowers reached into the millions, creating one of the largest public memorials ever seen. Men, women, and children stood silently, many unable to hold back their tears. People who had never met Diana felt as though they had lost someone from their own family. During her funeral, Diana's brother, Earl Spencer, delivered an emotional speech promising that her compassion and kindness would never be forgotten. Around 2.5 billion people watched the funeral across the globe, making it one of the most watched television events in history. It was a farewell unlike anything the modern world had ever witnessed. Although Princess Diana's life ended far too soon, her legacy never disappeared. Today, hospitals, charities, humanitarian organizations, and millions of ordinary people continue to remember her not because she was a princess but because she cared deeply for people who had been ignored by society. She showed the world that kindness requires no crown, compassion needs no title, and true greatness is measured not by power but by the lives you touch. Princess Diana spent much of her life searching for love and acceptance, yet in the end she received something even greater. She earned the love of the entire world. Decades after her passing, she is still remembered as the people's princess.